Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
That's how we always start our podcast off. We say good morning.
Mm.
I've explained, I say good morning all times of the day. As you know, Tom, I'll say good morning to you in the evening when we're at an EWMC meeting. But for me, good morning is like wishing well upon somebody. You know, to me, good morning is first thing in the day. There hasn't been a whole lot of opportunity for things to ruin your day, hopefully. And it's just, you know, wishing somebody well. So it's like, good morning. Hope you're having a good day.
Right.
Anyway. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us on our podcast, Talk to Them. Today we have a guest. This is my friend, Tom Corrie. Tom Corrie is an electrician and a dear friend. He's somebody who's always supportive. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I can get Tom on this podcast. He has a lot of things to share, a lot of knowledge, and he has a whole life that he's experienced. And so I figured he might have some good words to share with everybody. So we're going to welcome Tom.
Well, thank you.
Anything you want to share about why you decided to come on the podcast?
Well, I don't even know what a podcast is about. I would have no idea how to listen to it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know where to go to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I probably don't have anything in my house that could get me to it. So I have absolutely no idea what this is about.
Okay. Tom's one of those folks that he still has his house phone. You can't text Tom.
I
on his
have
cell
a
phone.
landline. I just don't have a cell phone.
Yeah, no cell phone. We're not
No.
texting Tom.
I don't have internet.
Okay.
If you don't call me up, you're not going to get a hold of me unless you're in front of me
Facts.
talking.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Nothing
that's
wrong
Tom.
with it?
Nope. Simple. I think keeps life a little simple. Not so available to everybody. We'll do our little weekly check-in. How this week has been. It's been a weird week. I think
It's
with
been
the
a
election.
very, very weird week.
Yeah. I haven't had a lot to do at work. We've canceled. We have a lot of people out of work, apprentices out of work. And so we've had to cancel the last 2 boot camps. We have one that's supposed to start tomorrow and then one that was supposed to start 2 weeks ago. So they canceled those. And I wouldn't be surprised if we cancel boot camps for the rest of the year and start back up in January. But we'll see what work looks like. So my job has been pretty stale, I feel like.
Do the people listening to this know what you're talking about?
Some might. Anybody can listen to this.
Well, I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I'm just curious as to, I listen to people talking and I have no idea what they're saying or anything.
I think if people have been listening, we have, 17 episodes. Not all of them have been updated, but as people listen through, if they listen in order, they'll know what we're talking about.
And so for like at my job, like it's been like business as usual with, housing people and, people having issues with their landlords or, rent checks or whatever. It's been like the same. We had a trauma training on Wednesday, which was like really right on time. Because, we talk about the trauma that our participants, go through being houseless and, coming into housing and, addiction and mental health and all this stuff, but also there's a vicarious trauma through there and then a triggering aspect of it if you have any of your own trauma. And our trainer was like, well, I'm just going to let you all know I'm going to have a hard time censoring myself today. And, she kept talking about the BS in the country and then she can't believe this and talked about how her husband was like verbally attacked because of his vote for Kamala or whatever. And it was just like, it was a lot. So it was like a regular business week, but with this dark gray, somber cloud. And then, people were, after the election settled, I guess, Wednesday, Thursday, started talking about, who they voted for and why. And it was kind of shocking for some people, like, okay. Like somebody said they voted for Trump because felons will have better jobs. And it was like, okay. That's your reason. But it seemed like most people who like have a reason why they voted for him, it's like, one random reason, which I mean may identify with them, and that's fine. And everybody votes for whoever they want to vote for. It's not that. It's just for me there's just some confusion around how they think what he has to say and do relates to them without looking at the whole big picture.
Yeah, or did they do any research on?
And that's what I feel like they haven't. I'd seen this thing this morning where he was talking about, the gender reaffirming surgeries and stuff like that, and how they do it on kids, and they don't do gender reassignment on children. But that's what he's marketing to the folks who want to believe all the BS because they want to be angry about particular things. As an adult, you should be able to do whatever you want to do. Like, you can't even do it. I believe you have to be at least 21 because you have to go. Don't quote me. That's what I remember hearing a little while ago. But I do know for a fact there's all kinds of psychological stuff you have to go through and, all kinds of, hormones and stuff like that. But he's like, no, they're doing it to children and, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is just wild. You should be able to let people be whoever they want to be, whether you agree with it or not. That's their business. But nobody's gender reassigning children. Nowhere. You can't do that. So I don't know. It's just been a rough week. And then like, I'm not even tapped into like the news like that because I need a break. But it still pops up on social media. You can't really escape it. So I don't know. It's been like a weird week. Like when you were like, we're going to talk about the weekend. I'm like, what happened this week? Like, I don't really, it's kind of like glazing by.
Yeah, I understand that. How has your week been, Tom?
Well, I'm still employed. As you said, I'm an electrician, and I presently am employed by the city at the wastewater treatment plant. And so I don't have to really worry about my job too much, in the fact that as long as people are peeing and pooping, I got me a job, But I experienced a lot of the same frustrations that you have, in that people come up and they say things that just don't correlate with who the individual is that's saying who he is. It's,
Yeah.
You said he wasn't even a good businessman. Well,
right.
I mean, the guy's a con man, and he's an avowed sex offender and all kinds of stuff. And people are just looking past that. If I was that person, you would not see me as anything but those things.
Those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, at least you get to keep your job. Like, he doesn't like people doing what I do in the nonprofit world. So we might not, in a year's time, I might not have a job. Well, not even a year. Come June, they might be done.
It's
crazy.
I'm a union wireman, and it might be one of those things that he's looking to fight is the unions. So I can see in my future, maybe not the type of electrician I am, but there's other people out there that are electricians that do construction. And that could be a real hard way to go here in the near future, because there's all kinds of rules and regulations that affect just the way that you do construction. And I don't know. I guess the government we want is the one that we voted for.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I mean collectively.
The people.
Right.
And we have a system of electing the president, which is developed when we were trying to form a government, and we had to deal with slavery.
It's a little outdated.
The whole there was a lot of concepts that were in the Constitution that allowed slavery to exist, and you can read some of the way things were written. They're just lined out. They're not crossed out, and they're not eliminated. But when a human being is 3/5 of a person just because of who they are, I mean, something's wrong with that. But back in the day, that was right, And I'm just, I says, man, we're still fighting that fight.
Mm-hmm.
What day we are?
Yes. All right. Well, let's see. Let's talk about you, Tom.
Oh, okay.
How long have you been an electrician? What is it that made you want to become an electrician?
Well, since I was, I guess, about 5 years old, I've always wanted to be an electrician. I had an older brother that he became an electrician, and when he started, he was living at my folks' house, and we used to get the monthly IBEW journal,
Mm-hmm.
and I would read those. And I said, "Yeah, I want to do that." And then he moved out, and he was an electrician doing different things. He went to work for Bonneville, and when I was in high school, I took the classes that I thought would help me, and lo and behold, I applied for apprenticeship. And a week after I graduated, I was an apprentice. So I've done nothing else.
Yeah.
That happened in 1966. So I've been an electrician since. My whole career has just been nothing but electrical. And I look at the way that we have our apprenticeship school, and I'm going, man, we never had any of this stuff. I mean, it's everything's different to me. And people ask me about it. I says, believe me, things were a whole lot different. In fact, I went to Benson for high school, regular high school, and that's where we had our apprenticeship classes. So I had 8 years of going to Benson.
Mm. Okay. And that's when they did night school, right?
Yeah.
So they had regular high school during the day and they opened it up for the apprenticeship at night?
Yeah, one of the problems that I had was working in the wintertime, you know, how the cold gets to you and kind of makes you tired out. And Fran's Bakery's across the street, and the smell would waft into the room, and, you know, you're cold and all that, and you're finally in a warm room and things are getting comfortable and that bread is smelling so good and you fall asleep in the class. Oh, trying to stay awake in the wintertime.
Yeah, it's totally different now. Now we do day school. So Tom did 4 years of evening school, 2 days a week. Is that what they did then?
Yeah.
Okay. And now we do 1 day a week full time for our apprentices at a day school. So they miss 1 day a week to go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different. I'm glad I didn't have to do the night school thing. I don't know that I would have been able to stay awake. And with kids, it's difficult.
You know, you just have to do what you got to do if you want something. So,
yeah, I can imagine.
So, as someone not in y'all's field, have you always been the same type of electrician, or is it different from, if you haven't been, is it different from what you're doing now versus, I don't know, wiring a Walmart or?
Well, I started out in an apprenticeship for the commercial program, commercial and industrial program. And so you learn how to, you know, you start in the dirt and you put conduits in for underground stuff. And then you start getting them as they build up the building. You know, it's just putting a building together. And of course, when I started, Vietnam was going. And so I joined the Navy Reserve, and they had a 2-year active duty program. So in the middle of my apprenticeship, I did 2 years in the Navy, and I was an electrician in the Navy. So, you know, did electrical work on a ship, which is quite a bit different than in a regular house and all that. Got done with that, finished up my apprenticeship, and I went through about 28 years of construction. And construction is not an old man's job. So I was just beat up. I just couldn't do it no more. So I got me a job with the city, and I do maintenance. And the difference between construction and maintenance, construction, you put something together and it only has to work once, and then you're off to another job.
Right.
But with maintenance, you got to keep what's going. So it's just, you know, I have all the same requirements. I know, electrical theory, it's exactly the same, and the motors are the same, and the lights are the same. Everything's the same, except I got to keep it going.
Okay.
And so that's what I've been doing for the past 30 years for the city. And, the one nice thing is in construction, the basic rule is if you don't work, you don't get paid.
Yes.
Okay.
With the city, I have a job that, for a lot of reasons, they pay you for not being there. There's vacation, sick time.
Mm-hmm.
There's if I work overtime and I want to take it as comp, which means I can take time off rather than take the money, I can do that. And so let's say, like my wife, she come down with cancer a couple of times. I was able to be there the whole time with her because I had enough sick time that I could convert that into taking care of her.
Okay.
So, there's, I guess the pay would be comparable, but they pay you for not being able to go to work, for a lot of different reasons. And with construction, if you don't work, you don't get paid. It's a pretty simple rule. But
Yeah, I think the only time I got paid, but it was circumstantial. Typically, it's something that doesn't happen. But I had a boss that figured out how to pay me for the time that I wasn't there. When my mom also came down with cancer, and I had to stay with her in the hospital for a week. But it was, and I've had that happen a couple times. So I think I just got lucky because most of the time you don't get that support. You have to take your vacation out and supplement your income that way, or you just have to take that loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't do FMLA in construction?
They do, but it's not paid,
Oh.
right? FMLA just saves your job if you take a period of time off. In
So
construction, it doesn't equate to being paid for your time.
and
I
the thing,
get paid FMLA.
the thing about FMLA, it saves your job, but how many contractors does an individual work for in a year? I work for 3 and 4 different contractors.
Mm-hmm.
So, and every time, they laid me off, but that was part of the job. When I got done working, they'd send me back to the hall and I'd go to get another job. And sometimes their job wasn't available for a while. So, but that's the way they run it. So,
Yep. Yeah. Our industry is different than most industries because of that. Yeah. Our job is to help build the building or work on whatever project we're hired to work on. And after that, we should go back to the hall and take another call. Some people do that. Some people stay within the company and rotate to the different projects they have. But it's a little bit different than what most people expect. So because you do have that rotation of going to this contractor and this contractor, it could look like unsteady work, even though maybe you've been working steadily. So we do get unemployment. That's just a part of our contract. If we're out of work, we apply for unemployment. And we have our own bank. And I think a lot of times they understand how our industry works. So it's not difficult for us to get lending if we need to, because people might have inconsistent work or something like that. But yeah, it's a different industry.
Yeah. I think I'd rather get non-paid FMLA and get paid what y'all pay than work in nonprofit and get paid for it. But it's like, we know y'all gonna be here to do this work anyway, so we don't have to pay y'all like that. Just a crazy trade, but whatever.
Yeah, I was talking the other day about being able to afford things. It's like when we were coming out of high school, getting an apartment wasn't like this unreachable task, right? You could get an apartment for like $500 and you could work part-time and still be able to pay for that. Now you can't get an apartment for an affordable cost. And a lot of kids, for them to move out of the house, at 18, is like, that ain't happening because they ain't making the money they need to make.
Right. Which is why I think a lot of people need to get out of the culture of, oh, you're 18, get out of my house. Or you graduated high school, get out of my house.
I hope people have.
There's people who have not. Like, just as somebody working with the folks who have a lot lower incomes,
Mhm.
a lot of them are still like, well, you're 18 now, you got to go,
gotta
because
go.
they can't afford to keep them in the house, which is crazy. If they start working when they're a minor, their
Oh,
income doesn't count. But once they turn 18, their income counts. Well, then your mom or your dad's or parents' rent
benefits.
goes up, their
Mhm.
benefits go down, and you're not even making enough to supplement that. But then
Mm.
you don't want your child having to help you pay bills like that. And it's like this vicious cycle of,
Mm.
I don't know. I be pushing trades on people like, hey, have you thought about an apprenticeship? But like my mom was in construction. I watched my mom do all kinds of stuff in construction, and she seemed the happiest there, but um I don't know, wasn't always working with her schedule with, kids and being a single mom. So it was a lot, but because, y'all have to be to work super early. And she was like
Mhm.
having to be to work at 5 o'clock sometimes or stuff like that. And we didn't have to be to school for a couple of more hours. And,
Mhm.
depending on where we lived, that didn't work. We might not have had a bus, but that walk was too far. So, but it's always something I've been like encouraging people. College is not the only route, to be a successful adult.
Mhm.
And I think more people need to understand that knowing how to do something that you can, like, you all have a skill that if my house, like, if all the power went out in my house and it wasn't because I didn't pay my bill, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm
Mm.
Kennitha, like,
And I'm gonna call
something said
Tom.
pop. Like, but like having a tangible skill like that is powerful. I don't think people
Mhm.
really realize that. Like, you can really take care of yourself and your family and stuff like that, or you can do like those of us with the bleeding hearts and struggle through nonprofit.
Right. There's
I love my
options.
work though.
So one of the things that I hadn't realized what I was doing when I started my apprenticeship, but when I started, I was 18. Of course, I thought I knew everything. Found out I didn't.
Mhm.
But what if you're a white male in this country, you could just about do anything you wanted with no problem. And I never realized that there was a problem that existed. And looking back on it, I'd go to a union meeting and everybody'd be white. There was only one person that wasn't, and that was Gus Miller. I
Mhm.
remember seeing him all the time at the meetings.
Mhm.
And of course, there weren't any women. I mean, it was definitely a white boys club.
Mhm.
I don't know how else to say it, but there you go.
Yeah,
That's
speak
it.
freely.
Mhm.
So, so in the intervening years, a lot of things have changed, and I've had to go through this whole different way of dealing with things that I learned one way to do. And it wasn't because I was a racist or anything else. That's just the way it was. And that's here in Oregon. I was
Mhm.
born and raised here in Portland.
Mhm.
Of course, it used to be if you want to go to Alabama and move west, go to Oregon. It was really bad here for a
Mm.
period of time. But anyway, so I met this young lady, and her name is Donna.
Mhm.
And so she's been a big influence in my life. And I've discovered that there's a lot of things that I didn't know. I had no idea about. And I've learned a lot, but there's still a lot that I don't know.
Mhm.
And, so every time I learn something, wow, it's not terrific, the things that I've learned, but it sure is informational to know where people were and where I wasn't. So I- I'm in the mode where I I do the best I can to enlist people into the trade, but it kind of works against me in that a person of color is really not likely to listen to what I have to say
Mhm.
about how great things are in the trade and all that. They're just not going to listen. So I don't try and do that part, but I'm a member of part of the organization that does do that.
Mhm.
And so my participation in that organization, which is the Electrical Workers Minority Caucus, allows me to contribute the way that I best can contribute, which is, it's not a direct thing, but I'm there every meeting. And I would think that some people are taken back by, someone who's not of color in this meeting. And one of the things I've learned when I first got there, I didn't have much to say or anything like that. And of course, I didn't know anybody. And over the years, I think I've been doing it maybe 10 years, something like that. And so it's that consistency of being there, which has made it so that, it's not uncomfortable being around people of color. There's a lot of people that are white that are really uncomfortable doing that. Well, to me, it's more normal because I think I know more people of color in the union than I know white people, because that's where my association is. And, it's worked out well for me. I haven't had any traumatic incidents or anything like that, but I know where people are coming from, and and so that's what I'm doing is there's a lot of things that I can't do, and I find it's better that I just do what I can do. So, and I'm still, the problem is I'm still learning as much as I can, and I have a feeling that I'm never going to learn as much as I really want to, but it's coming. So,
Tom is one of the biggest supporters of our chapter in particular. He shows up to everything, no matter if he feels like he can be effective or not. He still comes in tables when we do Good in the Hood or, one of those events, Juneteenth. Tom is often there sitting next to us, just talking to people about the trades. And I do, to his point where he says he doesn't think a person of color will listen to him. It may be a chance. There are some that will listen, but I know when we do a table somewhere at a career fair or something, that you see people approach people that look like them a lot. And so I think it's just important when we do that, we have to think that, keep that in mind. I go to career fairs and I'll see one white guy show up for this organization or this one, or maybe two white guys, but there's not a lot of diversity in the people who are sitting at the table trying to get people to talk to them. But at my table, you will see all kinds of people approach because we always have is either myself and another student. It typically is a minority. And you see a lot of minorities approach our table, but you see everybody approach our table. And when there's multiple people, that fit all these demographics, those people tend to attract the people that look like them also. So it's just interesting. But I do think there's some truth to that for sure.
And so I've done tabling in my career as well. In nonprofit, we do a lot of tabling. And then, I do like pop-ups and stuff like that. And I wouldn't say that they wouldn't listen to you. I think you have, a lot of experience and information to offer. But there is something about getting, okay, that's great information. Now, what are the inner workings? What are the things that I need to be aware of or worried about or concerned about? Or what's the real deal? Like I can get the information from you and take that as great. Thank you so much. But there's like, something about like, okay, I'm a Black woman. She's a Black woman. If she's not, weird, she's going to tell me, yes, everything he said is true. But also these are some things that, as a Black woman coming into this, that I would be concerned about. So it's not that your information isn't valid or valuable, but there's just also another layer of, no, let me know what else is going on because you experience this world differently than Kennitha does and differently than I would if I were coming into the trade. I would definitely take your experience and knowledge into consideration, but her lived experience in it is also just as valuable and a perspective that you're unable to give, which you're obviously aware of. But I'm saying that to say, I wouldn't have a mindset of, oh, they won't listen to me. They're listening to you. But then there's just another layer of information that they need in order to move forward a lot of times.
So here's the funny part about what happens is when a person of color gets accepted into the apprenticeship and they send them out to a job, they will usually be assigned of someone who is not like them. Like they'll assign them to me, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, if someone is there with my attitude, it's going to be totally different than someone who thinks, well, you shouldn't even be here and all that. So, at some point in time, there's going to be that interaction with someone who is white, whether, it's liked or not or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had it, where I'll come up to an apprentice and, we're going to work together, and I'll ask him the question, have you ever done this before? And I always ask that question because, one, if they've done it before, I'm not going to waste a bunch of time showing them how to do it unless I want it done a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this one apprentice says, "Oh yeah, I've done it before." Says, "Well, good, I haven't. So you show me how to do it."
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's like I don't know everything, but I do know that people appreciate being recognized. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
one of the you brought up something for me that reminded me. And now I'm trying to remember. I'm like you. What was I thinking?
Why was I saying this?
Goodness, it'll come back to me in a second. But anyways, well, with EWMC, so what do you like to do, Tom, in your time? You've been an electrician for a long time. It seems like a very long time.
Well, since '66, what is that? That's about 55 years.
Yeah, so. That's a long time. So what do you like to do in your free time?
Well, I got 3 dogs I got to take care of, and one of them requires medicine every 12 hours. So, and she's got congestive heart failure, so she's not going to last too much longer. So I got to do what I got to do to make sure that her life is as good as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2, they're just interested in eating and going out and pooping in the yard, stuff like that. But so, and then there's always projects around the house. I've been working on this one bedroom, putting doors in and stuff like that. And of course, I don't want to do things on the cheap, but I do it as economically as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're going to use a certain type of wood or whatever, I don't care what it is, it's going to be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to do things a little bit slower.
Mm-hmm.
Just mess around the house.
Yeah.
But I have an advantage. During my career, I've wired, I don't know, several hundreds or thousands of houses.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, residential construction pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I can work on my own house with very little effort. And I see people in my neighborhood all the time. There's vans parking in their house. They got somebody else doing the work. So if it requires, installing some wood or repairing some sheetrock or anything like that, I can, I just
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I love about the trades. Because it's not that, we're electricians. We install conduit, pull wire, and install devices, and we know how to do that. But one thing I think that's a bonus from working in the trades is that you get to see all the other trades work also. You see how they install things and the techniques that they use. And you're learning that even though you're not doing it yourself necessarily. So I always found that I have a lot of confidence when it comes to doing something at home. It's like, I'll give it a try, whatever. I'm sure I can figure it out because I've seen enough different things. Like I can, have that ability. And I've always enjoyed that part of just the trades, doing my own work. But when I have questions, especially about residential, I call Tom because I haven't done residential. I've done a little bit, but not enough to feel confident in it. So when somebody asks me some questions and I'm like, heck, I don't know, I'll be like, Tom, Tom, what's this? And he helped me with something. So a couple years ago, when my dad was around, there was a storm that hit I think in January or something, and it took the neutral out at the street. But I didn't know what was going on because I was reading 240 volts on my receptacle for my refrigerator. My lights were out, things were flickering, and this was happening for I don't know how long. And my dad called me and was like, I don't know, baby. I'm like, turn that power box off. You're gonna fry my stuff, And then Tom said, it sounds like you lost the neutral. And I'm like, how the heck do you know that? But he has the experience. And so I called PG and they fixed it. So it wasn't nothing at the house. But, oh man, it was just interesting. Like, goodness gracious. In commercial, when you're doing new construction, a lot of times we don't have to troubleshoot. We don't see it after it's up and running and all the things that happen. We just install it one time and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's a different world. So anyway, I always appreciate that. And when we do day of services, Tom always shows up to volunteer. He's one of those people you got to have around. Anytime we have an event, Tom buys a table. Tom's there with his whole family. How's your family doing, Tom? Kids.
Oh, well, so far they're doing pretty good, and but they're starting to move away a little bit. Like one of my daughters moved down to Lincoln City, and she got a job with the post office down there.
Okay.
And so that puts her out of range. For Christmas, I make mac and cheese for the family, and I make enough so that they can enjoy it. But that's what I give for a Christmas present because it meets all my criteria. One, it's not some cheap piece of plastic crap that's been imported, and I make it myself. So, but I was at work one time, and I asked everybody in the shop, "What do you guys put in your mac and cheese?" And everybody had a different item. So I wrote it all down, and I says, "I'll put all this stuff."
Okay.
So
we have to talk about this recipe because I am also the mac and cheese. Well, now I'm the dinner maker, but that was my thing when we were still doing it as like a family who all had their one thing to do or whatever was the mac and cheese. I'm always curious what people put in their mac, and I'm like, no. But
well, I don't even use cheddar cheese. I use pepper jack. I was like, wow. Everybody tastes it, says, man, this is great. Because pepper jack isn't that hot. It just got a little.
It has a little
kick to
something.
it.
I put pepper jack in my mac and cheese.
But one of the things that happened was my wife would go down and get the Kraft mac and cheese. We had 5 kids. Well, she was trying to, she's trying to save money any way she can. And so I says, I'm tired of this. I says, I'm not eating this because my mom, when she made mac and cheese, she made homemade mac and cheese. So I looked up a recipe. I'd never made it before. So I says, I'm going to make this. So I made it. And I was amazed how hard it is to really mess up mac and cheese. If you mess it up, you got to be really bad at something. But anyway, I got it all fixed up. And then they tell you, you got to have some that you put on top. So you got a nice cheesy crust and all that. So I made this up and the kids came home and they were, what's that? I says, that's homemade mac and cheese. Oh, wow. And it looked good. And so they were going to take all the cheese off. I says, no, what you got to do is you got to go down into the dish and you got to take the cheese
with it.
You take the mac and cheese underneath that cheese. You just don't take the crust off. And I was real emphatic about that. So Cheryl wasn't home at the time and she shows up and we're out in the dining room and she's in the kitchen. And I heard this silence and she, she's, oh, wow. And that's all I heard. And then I says, she's taking all the cheese off. She did. Says, are you taking all the cheese off? Yep. She cleaned it off. Oh, the kids were so upset. So
that is funny.
Oh, that's how you started making mac and cheese?
Well, yeah. And then I asked the question. Then it went into whatever, what these other people do. I put broccoli. I put, these sausages that you can buy at the store. Put onions, mushrooms. I put a little bit of Asiago cheese in. Are you getting kind of salivating.
It's like you painted a whole casserole now.
Yeah, basically it's a casserole.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put all that stuff in there, and it's, I've never had anybody want to give it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
So
Yeah, we all have I'm a mac and cheese person personally. I love mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So people, the people that know me say, well, does my mac and cheese come up to your standards? I says, no, that's not what it's about. Here's what it's about. It's how can you make it different?
Okay.
It's, if you can make it different, then let's try it. I don't have a license to say everybody's got to do it my way. What I want to know is, what can you do to make it so that it's good by itself the way that you want.
If it's different and good, then I can take that. But if I don't like the taste, then I ain't eating it.
That's a great attitude to have. I am not that person. I am. Nope, that ain't good. I don't like it. You didn't do it right.
Well, yeah, if mac and cheese is bad, then someone has really done something wrong. But
yeah, and it's funny because the same time of the year, my cousin Brittany, who lives in Florida, and I both had on the same day we had potlucks at work, and both went through this experience where we went and gotten what we thought was mac and cheese. And then as soon as we got into it, found out that it was potatoes. And it was just like a really bad, like, it was funny because I posted that, and then she posted that. And I was like, that's so odd because where's the mac and cheese? Like, we did a potluck. Everybody signed up. Nobody said anything about it. Was like kind of like au gratin potatoes, but it looked like mac and cheese on the top. It looked like mac and cheese from the side. It was like, okay, this is mac and cheese. And there was no mac and cheese at the potluck, which is weird because somebody signed up for it. I don't do mac and cheese at work potlucks because my mac and cheese is too expensive. It takes too much time, and I'm not doing all that. I'll give y'all one of my side dishes that's like cabbage or something. I'll do that, but I can't do mac and cheese for staff. It just costs too much for me. I already make because I don't know how to cook small. I've never learned how to shrink my meals, so I do the whole big old thing of mac and cheese. That when you have to buy all your ingredients from scratch, that's a couple $100. I shred my own cheese. I make my own roux, like all that stuff. That's not cheap, and I'm not doing that for work. Y'all don't pay me enough.
I feel that that's a
labor of love to me. I want you to have my mac and cheese because I love you, and that probably sounds crazy unless you're a cook.
That's the mac and cheese that I want to try.
Yeah, I will make some, and I will see if Kennitha can get some to you. And she makes good mac and cheese too.
It's just the thing about you're talking about the potatoes. That's like having your taste buds ready for ice cream and you get asparagus.
Right.
Oh yes, I had a mac and cheese that I didn't know if it was mac and cheese or potatoes because the noodles were so overcooked.
Yeah,
you remember?
Yes,
you remember? And it was like, don't burn your noodles. There is a way to cook mac and cheese, and I think everybody who cooks mac and cheese, I don't know who makes homemade mac and cheese where you make a roux and all that, like you understand that, but not everybody does that. Some people it's just as simple as noodles and cheese and season and butter.
There's no
and whatever.
Techniques.
Yeah,
some people don't season, and I don't know. Like, and no offense to the folks who do, because I know a lot of people who put like cream of mushroom in their mac and cheese, or they put sour cream in it to help make it creamier. But I don't do any of that. My roux is creamy. I make sure my roux is good. Not saying that it's not, because I've had it with not cream of mushroom. It's just something about mushrooms that I just can't do.
Yeah, I don't.
But people who've add sour cream or cream cheese or like whatever to help make it creamier, easier, or whatever. And it's been cool. It's not like it's like, oh, this is nasty, you put cream cheese in here. But it's just like there's techniques that can help you not have to do that to where your cheese is creamy enough. Like I have a whole process, and it's like it takes a little bit. But anytime I cook, it's a labor of love. Like, I have cream of chicken. I did not make it last night. But what I did was I got up at 1 o'clock in the morning and put my chicken slow and low. The best way to cook any meat. So I put my chicken on last night, and when I get back, my rice should be done. Finish my cream of chicken, make my cabbage. But it's all like it's like I don't cook just to cook. You know, I cook because I wanted to create this meal and I wanted to share it with you and I want you to like it. And I'm one of the people that will be like, are you enjoying that? Because it looks like, and then people be like, no, it's good. They just be in their zone or whatever, but it means say something to me so I can move on.
It's an art for you.
Yes, it is another art for me. I never really thought about it like that, but it is an art. Cooking is an art for me. And it runs in my family. Like on my mom's side, mostly everybody can cook. My dad's side, I'm not sure, do them people, but my brother obviously is a really good chef. Works on the menu at Joe Brown's and stuff like that. So, and my brother in Seattle cooks real well. We do, holiday dinners together. He and I cook everything. And I don't know, it's nice having other people around who can really, really cook and not be the only one. That's a lot of weight to carry.
I feel like that's how my cousin feels. I didn't grow up like cooking. I grew up different. I didn't grow up in the kitchen. I wasn't around my mom or my grandma or my aunties learning how to cook. I grew up a lot in like foster care and in other people's homes. So that wasn't the lessons that I got. So when I was an adult having kids, it was like, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do? We ate a lot of cereal. We learned me and my boyfriend at the time learned how to cook, and we still make jokes at each other now. Listen to the stuff we used to put together and call it food.
You got to figure it out.
And now I figured it out. I cook, but I get tired of cooking. My kids are fine eating pizza pockets and
they're teenagers. They don't care.
And
they
nothing
just want
else.
Food.
All they want is tater tots. Yeah, and I'm like, they don't care about my food. They don't appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Last night I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this, and then but somebody had to go do her dishes in the sink. So I was like, go do those dishes, and then I'm gonna, so you can't cook in a dirty kitchen. Do the dishes so I can go cook or whatever. And then she does the dishes, she comes back, she's like, can I make a grilled cheese? Well, then why am I cooking? You want a grilled cheese? I hear the air fryer. So Donald's in there doing the air fryer. Renauda wants a grilled cheese. Well, fine, I'm gonna take a nap.
Right. Why am I about to put all this energy? Y'all don't care.
What it is now is I want the food. So I'm going to make it. Everybody's going to eat it. Donald's going to be super happy. One of his favorite things for me to make is cabbage. He can't, I have to be like, you need to slow down. Because your insides are not going to be happy if you eat a whole, it's a big head of cabbage. And if I let him, he will eat the whole pan by himself.
Tom, do you do a lot of cooking?
Well, my wife passed away about 3 years ago, so yes, I do. I do enough for me.
Yeah. I know my coworker, he don't cook nothing. He orders out all the time. That's how he eats. But he eats at nice restaurants, so he appreciates it. For some people, that's an option. So that's why I asked.
I don't go to restaurants. The only time I eat out is when I go to the hall or go to a EWMC meeting and they got pizza or something. That's the only anytime I eat out.
Okay.
But other than that, I just burn something at the house. And sometimes it ain't good, but who do I got to complain to?
Right. Okay.
It's trial and error.
That's how, hey, nothing wrong with it. All right, let's see. Let's find a topic. Oh, I wanted to hear, we were talking when we were talking about you being on here, and you were sharing your experience with being a stepdad.
Oh.
And I thought that would be a good story to hear. And it also kind of shines light on just your experience and how you got where you're at.
I married a woman who had 5 kids in their own mixed race. That was, and one of the things I remember, and of course, Tiffany brought it up. She brings it up quite often, but it's always a good thing that she talks about. She says, yeah, when we were growing up, I remember we called you everything in the book. And, and we were just mean. And there was 3 girls, and I'll tell you what, they were mean. But, today, they're the most loving people in the world. Here's a funny thing that happens in that did things a certain way. And so now Tiffany was talking to her daughter, and she said the same things that I did, which was really funny. I said, "You mean it took?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, because you don't know at the time, especially with our kids, if they're actually listening.
So, the boys, they're completely different. You don't have to really worry about the boys. You can be a little bit rougher with them and all that. But I wasn't rough with them. I was just a little more forward with them.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that I had to deal with was, one, I was white, and it says, now how do I teach these kids lessons that they're not going to get from a person who is white? And the girls especially were kind of hard to deal with. Of course, Donna, and Donna's a person of color, and she worked at the city in the electric shop. She's an electrician, and so I would, after work, I'd talk to her a little bit, but she'd help me out with, here's what you're dealing with. Oh, okay. And, just things that had, I just wasn't aware of. And so that's how Don and I came to be really good friends. I think you've noticed that. So, so there's a lot of things that I would do. A lot of things I didn't have to do anything. I just had to approach it with the right attitude or the right format. And so as they grew up, of course, when they turned 18, oh my gosh, they just knew everything. And,
every 18-year-old does.
Yeah. So, and they went out and they've come back and they need some help doing this or that, okay, no problem. And so today, they're not like they're highly successful, but they're successful at what they do. And they know that they can come around and they can, if they need any support with something, they know that they can come and ask me. And it's like, it's pretty nice. And I just wished it would have been like that when they were growing up, but it's well worth it now. So, but that was when Tiffany came up and she said, "Yeah, we were just plain mean to you." Well, yeah, there was moments. She says, she says, "I wish we could have done it different." And I says, "Well, knowing the difference is just enough, I think." So, and that's one of the reasons why I got, I stayed involved with the EWMC, is because, these are my kids. At least I consider them to be my kids. And I says, I want for them what I have. Well, maybe they don't want to be electricians, but there's other people out there that do. And of course, I'm like a hammer and a nail. I'm looking for nails. I think everybody should be an electrician. But I tend to, the people that get involved with the program, I try and make them feel, this is going to be something that you're going to have to put a little work in, and you'll get out of it what you want. So, and one of the big things that I would like to see is have the health plan that they have at the hall get involved with sickle cell anemia, because now they have a treatment for it.
Okay.
But it costs $2.2 million. So,
My daughter's sister has sickle cell.
But, if they can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for cancer treatments and stuff like that, I'm sure that, this treatment the cost will come down. But right now it's a lot of money. So, I would like to see that, you know, come in and help some of the members of the local there. Of course, if it helps them, it's gonna help other folks too.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I know from what I've heard is that sickle cell anemia is a very painful thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I would like to see, things get done. So
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get some
but
movement on
that's
that.
that's part of my exposure to help raise these kids is now they're part of my family. Well, I certainly can't go out and be whoever I was before I was married,
Mm-hmm.
because there I didn't know a lot of things, and
Mm-hmm.
now I do. So, well, I'm just gonna have to do the best I can to make sure that there's other people coming in, and there'll be a good time for them. I hope.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right, we're coming up to an hour.
Want to get into some gems?
At the end of every one of our shows, we try to do not a recap, but we find a good little piece of information or piece of advice, and we share it. We call it our gems.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna pick our gems for today. And I'm like, I don't even know what we talked about. Besides, I hear it. My gem. I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
Mine is do your research.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to all the folks who share how they voted and why they voted the way they did. To hear so many people so gung-ho about Trump, and then list off things about him that just aren't true, but they believe because they've seen it in social media or wherever they've seen it. Do your research before you just jump on the bandwagon with stuff, I suggest that just be a way that people address information like that instead of repeating every little thing you see on social media, because everything you read is not true, right? So just, I don't know, do your research. That's my gem for this week.
I think mine's going to be, I want to be on some BS, but I think I'm going to be. It's not nothing crazy, but I just feel like, it is the holiday season. We're doing a lot of cooking. And if you are not ready to be in the kitchen for real, do not be in the kitchen. Do not try nothing on the big holidays. Don't practice on the big holidays. Save that for your family at your house when nobody else is there. Don't mess up the holidays because you want to try something or you want to be promoted out of nowhere. That is my gem.
Okay. Any lessons you want to highlight, Tom?
Well, one of the things that I've seen people in apprenticeship programs for electricians that, like one guy, he liked to go to hockey games. He had to do another term over again because of that, because his grades were not sufficient and that sort of thing. But he had to do it completely over. That means he was lagging and he was losing out on money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this would apply to anything that you want to do in life. And if it's sweeping floors or if it's wiring a nuclear power plant, it doesn't matter. Do it the best you can. And, always, have that in mind that, no matter what you do, you're going to do it the best you can so that when someone thinks about you, that, if I could, I'd keep that guy here today.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I don't think it really matters what it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm. So just do the best you can.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. It's better than mine. That's okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on Talk to Them. We hope you enjoyed the show today. And what did you say?
You kept going. Thank you for joining us on Talk to Them, where every story counts. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.